Hi, everybody. This is Marna Thall with the Thin Within podcast, where I give you mental secrets for weight loss mastery. And many of you have said to me, Marna, why don't you take your weekly Facebook lives and put them on your podcast? So here is this week's Facebook Live. Hello, everyone. I want to share a story with you because it just doesn't always look pretty. Our lives don't always look pretty, and we don't need to use food as a way to beat ourselves up and further the frustration that we're experiencing. Just so you know, I am Marna Thall. If this is the first time you've ever joined me, I've been helping women lose weight for the last 24 years. I mean, how crazy is that? 24 years I've been helping women around thinking, eating, living thin from a non-diet approach. And I want to talk to you about what happened this Mother's Day. And I want to share it with you to give you some pointers, give you some things that I did so that I didn't turn to food, because I was definitely beating myself up. But I want to give you some pointers of what you could do. And hopefully through my story, you'll see, oh, okay, these are things that I do too. Or you can relate it to your own story and go, oh my goodness, I'm going to make a change here. So let's talk about Mother's Day. I was talking to my sister and we were really excited. She's like, what do you want to do for Mother's Day? I was like, I'll just have it here at the house. Absolutely my choice. I decided to have Mother's Day at my house. I said, let's make it easy. We'll just do pizza and salad. It'll be so easy. Well, have you ever had it where you think something's going to be so easy and then you make it so much harder on yourself? So I proceeded on Saturday to clean the entire backyard because I thought, okay, well, it's spring. I'm going to clean the backyard up and then people can be outside even though it's supposed to rain. Maybe it'll be nice. But then that also meant if it wasn't nice, I wanted to make sure that my house was really clean. So you know how I spent my Mother's Day weekend? Telling my kids to clean, cleaning myself, worrying about every single detail. The baseboards were not clean enough. I'm anal and I wanted things to be very clean. That's typically how I get when I'm going to host people. And it wasn't fun for me. It wasn't fun for them. And what felt the worst is I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was showing up as. So you may not be like this in this area of cleaning. I want to just talk about those times where we have these good intentions, where we want to say yes, we sort of turn against ourselves, and then we don't like who we are and how we're showing up in the world. And that's how I was. I did not like who I was showing up as on Sunday at all. And I didn't like it for my kids. Here they wanted to celebrate their mom. And their mom was saying, okay, let's clean, let's organize, let's make sure your room looks nice, let's get this done. How many of you can relate to that, where you have good intentions and it just kind of goes, I could have easily gone to food. I could have easily found myself stuffing my face in the fridge, because that would have been the old way. I would have just numbed out. So I didn't have to feel my frustration, my pain, my anger. And sometimes when we're going through this process of going from using food as the way we beat ourselves up to numb out, to actually feeling our feelings and moving into who we want to be. So I had to be a little bit vulnerable with myself and with everybody instead of eating. So I want to talk to you about 3 things that I did. The first thing is that it's easy to blame everybody else. It would have been really easy. And I caught myself a little bit kind of going into a little bit of blame mode. And then I was like, wait a second. This is my 100% responsibility. 100%. So first thing, we've got to take responsibility for how we're showing up for our lives, for those things that we commit to or say we're going to do, and then they don't go the way we intended or expected or planned. And then we want to make it other people wrong for it. We want to make it someone else's problem, someone else's, oh, woe is me issue. And that's where I kind of started to go. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm taking full responsibility. And so I want to make sure that in your life, if you're saying yes to something, if you're doing something that may look different, like I said, than my scenario, but if you're saying yes to something and you don't like how it feels, how you look, how you are experiencing, or who you are as a result of what you said yes to, just take full responsibility. I then apologized to my kids. I told them I was sorry for being super anal, super cleaning freak, super wanting things a certain way. It's so important to make sure that you are in that role, that you are taking that responsibility for yourself, that you're stepping into your power, that you're being that person. Okay? So the next thing after taking responsibility is that on Monday, I started to really do some journaling. I wanted to look at what was going on. I don't want to keep repeating this every time I host, every time I have people over. It's stressful for me. I feel like things need to be a very specific way, and then nobody in my family is right. So what I did, I spent some time just writing out the scenario. What happened? What occurred in the scenario, in the situation? So once I took responsibility, then it's nobody else's problem but my own. And I'm taking full responsibility all over the place for my life. I'm doing it in almost every way I possibly can. I'm sure there's some vulnerabilities around where I'm not saying that I'm doing that, but I'm really trying hard to take full responsibility for my life and everything that's occurring inside and outside of my life. And so really taking responsibility and being like, okay, what can I do to change this? And I just wrote down the scenario, what I didn't like, what I was thinking, what I was feeling. And you know what I came up with? I felt like my house needed to be a certain way, that it should be a certain way, that it should be cleaner, that I have to get it all done. It has to look a certain way, and that it's not clean enough how it is. For those of you in the inner circle, we talked about this on Monday, of talking and going deep into this notion of enough and satisfied as it relates to food and hunger. Where are we enough? What are we satisfied with? That was something that I was really looking at. What is good enough? What's clean enough? What's satisfied enough? What is enough when we're doing these things? And so if you know that ahead of time, then what that would have helped me do is it would have put things in perspective. And I was looking and I was noticing that these same words that many of you probably tell yourself, and you can tell me if you do this too, many of you say these same words like, I should, I have to, I must, I should lose weight, I have to lose weight, I must get going on my weight loss plan, I have to make this happen, I need to be better with how I'm showing up with food, I need to eat better quality foods, I need to stop eating right? We put all these shoulds and musts and have tos and needs. And I was realizing that by creating so many of those words inside of my head around cleaning, I noticed where that shows up in other places, because I always say this to all of you, that the way we do one thing is oftentimes the way we do other things. So the way we speak about ourselves in other contexts is oftentimes the way we speak about ourselves. If I'm telling myself I should look better, I should be cleaner, I should do this better, can you relate to those times where these thoughts become the way you feel you should show up, and it puts so much pressure on you? So do you notice where you're putting pressure on yourself in other areas of your life, and where it also is pressure on yourself in this area too? They get connected. So I recognize that, wow, let's do a few things here. A better conversation for me, instead of being in the should, have to, must, can't, need to, could be things like, I want to, I get to, I'm excited to. And then secondly, I really wish I would have had more gratitude in reminding myself of what was important. What was important is not my baseboards. being very white. What is important is not every little bit of dirt getting cleaned. But you know what's important? Is to celebrate the moms in my life, to be with my family, to show up calm and relaxed and having fun. Because then I went on to tell my mom and my sister, I don't want to host this. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to spend my weekend cleaning. And you know what that did? It just made them feel stressed out, and it didn't help them enjoy that day. And then I felt worse because I showed up vulnerable to them, where vulnerability is not a problem. I love being vulnerable. It's the way in which I'm showing up in a vulnerable way. And so that leads me to the third thing that I got really clear about. I don't want to host on Mother's Day. I don't want to do that. I don't mind hosting for my husband for Father's Day or hosting for my kids' birthdays or whatnot. But for Mother's Day, not how I want to show up. So creating that boundary is fine. But what would have been kinder than stressing my mom and my sister out would have been letting them know after the fact that, hey, I hope you had a really great time. I think next time what would make me feel better is if we all met at a park. I would rather just go hiking and then go meet somewhere to eat so that no mother has to just be in this workhorse mode. That just felt a lot better. So I want to share some of these things because I know how we can easily use perfection or ways that we want to show up in the world and say yes to, and then end up beating ourselves up because it didn't look so right. It wasn't so good. We didn't do it well enough. And this could be Mother's Day. It could be Christmas. It could be your birthday. It could be areas where you might have expectation of how you should be. And that expectation is so high, it takes all the fun out of the holiday, of the event, of a vacation. And then you don't end up loving who you are or how you showed up, and then you turn to food. Instead, I really want you to have outlets to be showing up for yourself through writing, journaling, sharing, connecting, exercising, whatever way you have to get this out. I was so grateful that I have journaling as a vehicle for myself to just write what was going on, write what my thoughts are that weren't serving me. What do I want to think instead? What do I want to feel instead? What I did is I kept this writing of how I want to show up in a different way next time. And then before I have another event like this, I want to practice being a better version of myself. Practice being a better me in the moment. That's calmer, that's more relaxed, that's making hosting more fun and playful, that doesn't put that perfectionistic cleaner in my head. So I'd love to know how many of you can relate to putting this pressure on yourselves that takes away some of the fun, some of the joy, some of the play in your life, that makes life way too serious, way too hard, way too difficult. And then you end up not having fun when the whole point was to celebrate or to have fun or to have joy. Teresa, you said all the time. Paula, you can relate to this. Oh my God, all the time, Roberta. Okay, so I'm glad this is not just me. So let's look at these three things. One, take full responsibility. This is so important. Acknowledge it, apologize to anybody and be vulnerable to say, hey, listen, I didn't show up as my best self. Two, journal. Get this out. When you recognize that you are not showing up in your best self and as your best human self, food's not going to help. Food's not going to take it away. Yes, it might momentarily for 3 minutes numb you out, but then you're left with all these feelings. What do you do with these feelings and thoughts and beliefs? If they keep staying inside of your head, then they're just going to bounce inside of there. They have no outlet. And so that's why oftentimes we use substances to numb that out, so that if we don't get it out of us and work through it and navigate through it, then guess what? It just bounces around in our minds over and over and over and over and over and over and over, without any solution, without any tool, without any way out. And that sucks, to be in that place of having days upon days where you're just beating yourselves up. You're just telling yourself how frustrated you are, how angry. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't have shown up that way. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done it that way. I should have been nicer, should have been nicer. All that. That's going to make you crazy. And it does make us crazy. So getting all of that out on paper for me, or in whatever capacity, it could be recording it, it could be talking to a friend, it could be writing. For some of you, use exercise just to move that energy out of you, whatever it is. So that's when you simply just get out a piece of paper, write out. The only fact about the whole scenario was I was having people over. All the rest was the story I create about that fact. And what I mean by the story is that my house had to be perfect. Nobody told me that. That it had to look a certain way. No, it didn't. That it had to be cleaner. Did it really? That the kids' rooms had to look a certain way. Did they really? All that pressure, all those things were just my self-induced craziness around cleaning and having my house a certain way. Not beneficial. The only fact, the only real thing was that I was having people over. I could have chosen for it to be fun. I could have put music on and we could have all danced while we were cleaning. I could have just said, hey, listen, we're going to just clean down here for 20 minutes. Done. Whatever we get done in 20 minutes, that's going to be fantastic. I could have done all of those things. I could have made it so much more fun and enjoyable. And instead, I made it painful for everybody. Writing down allowed me to look at it, see, and then what thoughts and feelings do I want to think and feel in the future, as well as how do I want to think and feel about this situation that just happened. I want to be proud of myself for looking at it, for not eating through it, and for addressing it with myself, with my kids, just apologizing, taking full responsibility. I'm cleaning this up in my life. And then lastly, if you need to set any boundaries, like I looked at, what do I want to do? Okay, this happened. Do I want to do this again? Not for Mother's Day. Nope, don't want to do this for Mother's Day. Not going to do it. Or I'll be in a different headspace to hopefully do it better another time, because I'll have more times that I practice hosting where I don't get crazy about every little detail. Okay? So I hope this gives you some tools to really step into a more love, more kindness, more joy, more feelings of vulnerability and responsibility, and give you back your power of how you want to show up. Okay? It's okay to not like ourselves sometimes. It's okay. I didn't love who I was showing up as. I didn't want to eat through it. I didn't want to get bigger and not like myself as a result. And sometimes that happens where you then don't like yourself, you eat, and then you start the spiral down. And then you don't like yourself for eating, and then you get angry at yourself, and then you keep spiraling down. The way to start spiraling up is to start giving you new loving thoughts, feelings, beliefs, hope, and start moving that up. So let's look at some questions. Let me look at some things that are coming up that I'm already seeing that I would love to help you move through. So Miss Teresa, you said you're mad at yourself because you're not where you want to be weight-wise. So let's just look at this, being mad at yourself and where you want to be weight-wise. Okay, the weight that you want to be at is a number, okay? It's a number. It's neutral. It has no feelings. It's just a number. What you want, what you're attaching to that number is a lot of emotion. And where you're attaching to where you are right now has a lot of emotion. And in that space is what we call cognitive dissonance. It's the frustration between where we are and where we want to be. So, what would help you start to close this gap to be this weight you want to be? I really love the way of the be, do, have whole way of showing up. We start just being that person. You want to be the certain weight. Who do you have to be? What are you going to say to yourself? What are you going to act? How are you going to show up in your life? And it doesn't mean you have to take it all on at once, but I want you to get a picture of that life, of that person, of that you that's at the weight you want to be, that's being and showing up in that way, That's acting as if. It's sort of the fake it till you make it. It's sort of when you get hired for a job that's a little over your head, a little over what you've ever done, and you've got to act like you know what you're doing. You're going to walk the walk, talk the talk, act the acts. I would love to see you step more into that, because let's look at that emotion of mad. Okay, it's an emotion, it's a feeling. And here's what we know about feelings. We can change them, we can shift them, we can adjust them. So here you want to be this way, and here's the feeling of mad. From a place of mad, is it easier or harder for you to lose weight? It's going to expand the cognitive dissonance for you. It's going to keep that at bay, because losing weight from a mad place isn't going to create the weight loss that you want, and it certainly won't do it for any length of time. Asking better questions, feeling into better feels is going to be what's going to move you into where you want to be. So instead of being mad, I want you to think about how can you show up in a way that helps support you and your body and your mind to get where you want to be. Okay? Yeah, it's going to make things harder. So I want you to think about, how would you like to feel and what would you like to think about this journey as you start acting as if. So I'll give you some examples. Some of the things that I have always used is, I love the journey, or I'm in the process of, or I'm creating. I'm showing up as my best self and I'm creating the healthiest version of myself right now. And I'm going to do that. And then I'll just write out, okay, what would that look like today? And then, you know, my favorite, what could I do today to make weight loss easy and inevitable? What could I do today that would be so fun to move my body? That's always a good one. What could I do today that I know would move my health and my body forward? All of these sentences are things that are so powerful, and they put you in the positive and versus the anger mode of emotion. We already have so much pressure oftentimes, or thoughts that make things harder, which is why we turn to food to just numb all of those feelings out for a few minutes. So if we can use the power of curiosity, use hope, use dreaming, use the power of now to help move you forward, what's going to happen is then it's not going to be that we have to work against our head. I'm curious. Is there anything in the fridge that works really well for my body? Makes me feel and look really good that I can eat today? That I know will help me move towards my weight and body goals? I'm curious if there's anything in there. See the power of curiosity? It just takes some of that pressure off. Good, Marguerite. I'm glad this is helpful, right? We're all in this together. We're all hard on ourselves. We all are wanting to do and be our best selves, right? Like, that's what we want. We want to do good things in the world. We want to be our best humans. And sometimes when we have that intention, the actuality of that, the result of that, isn't in alignment. We kind of bonk out and go, wow, that wasn't our finest moment. And it's okay. It's a good learning experience. And now I'll adjust my actions, my feelings, and my thoughts so that I could make the next experience better for myself and my family. Okay? And so I want you all to be thinking about this and thinking about taking the responsibility, getting this out of your body. If you have a lot of guilt, frustration, sadness, anger about your weight or whatever it might be, get it out on paper. Look at what's facts. Look at what's story. Look at what you can change, which are always your emotions and your thoughts, and then align them with where you want to go. Act as if you are that person, and then start taking action in that way. You can use the power of curiosity to ask the question, curious, wonder if I could do that tonight. Wonder how that would look tonight if I didn't eat my face off and instead, I chose to do a few other things. I'm curious what that would feel like in the morning to wake up knowing that I didn't eat all night. You see how you can use this? Ronnie, awesome. I'm so glad that you're beginning to tackle your COVID weight gain. And I'm so happy this is helpful. I'm so glad. And I don't use my stories as ways to, it's all about me, but I try to use my life as a way to look at how I can grow, how I can transform, and how it could be applicable to your growth and transformation. And also that we're not in this alone. You're not in this alone. I'm not in this alone. We're doing this journey together in partnership with a lot of other people and with each other. And that all we can do when we have these bad moments is learn from them and readjust. Let's face this head on. And I gave you 3 ways to do that, and I hope they help you. And if you want more support or more tools, feel free to head to my website, thinwithin.com. There's an opportunity to get your name on the wait list for the next 30-day challenge. We just finished up that challenge, which has been amazing. I had so many incredible women in there. I'm so grateful to have all of them, and many of you are them too. And if you haven't taken the free course, that's a resource for you. You could just poke around, hang out on my podcast, just fill yourself up with some of this yummy positive juju, because in order to change your weight, you must change this. All right. I am sending you so much love, so much joy. You've got this. Let's change the conversation so that we can really step into our best, greatest selves. All right, everybody. Mwah. Sending you lots of love. Talk to all of you next week. Bye.